Hey there, Sea Dogs. Today we're doing a tier list of every world event in Sea of Thieves. Since Season 9 is all about world events and their balance changes, I thought I'd go through each one and see which one comes out on top. I factored in things like the time they take to complete, how much loot they provide, and just how fun each of them are. Stick around to the end to see what I think is the best event in the game. Oh, and before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? It really helps out. Now, on to the tier list. Starting at the absolute bottom, we have the Skeleton Fort. Now, I might get some hate for this, I don't know. But the original Skull Fort, honestly, probably gives the least amount of loot and feels the least challenging out of any of the world events. If you've played Sea of Thieves, it's very likely you've done one of these. They've been around for 5 years now as one of the only main content to drive players together. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with them, they just feel a little outdated. I'll still do one if there's nothing else to do on the server, or if I'm trying to teach a new player how to play. They're not awful, but they do sit at the bottom of the list for me. After that, it's the Ashen Lord. Now, I think the Ashen Lords are actually pretty cool characters in the lore. Their voice acting and character designs are pretty badass, and the music is always pretty great when you're doing one of these events. But the loot from these isn't very impressive either, and while before the Ashen Lord felt pretty tedious, even after Season 9, I don't think they're great to fight. They're definitely not hard though, and that's why they sit right above the Skull Fort at the bottom of the list. Also, the Ashen Windskull does very little damage. This thing needs a major buff. After the Ashen Lord, I'd say there's a tie between the Ghost Fleet and the Skeleton Fleet. Both of them are naval world events that require you to take on different sea-based challenges. They both give about the same amount of loot, in that you could get a Reaper grade 5 just by doing either of these events. Both of these events can be genuinely challenging, as keeping an eye on your ship can feel like a monumental task when you're getting volleyed from all sides. However, I might have to put the ghost ships just a little bit above the skeleton ships, because when you defeat a ghost ship world event, you get some special types of cursed cannonballs that pack a real punch. This is more of a matter of personal opinion, so go out and do these events and see what works for you. In second place for the best world event, we have the Fort of Fortune. Before Season 9, this would be at the bottom of my list. I kind of hated the Fort of Fortune. This event had 3 separate Skeleton Lords and an Ashen Lord to top it off, with many waves of overpowered, super fast skeletons that did way too much damage. It was so tedious, you could get one shot all the time, it was just not very fun. But now, if you're even slightly experienced, the Fort of Fortune feels like a cakewalk. It gives by far some of the best loot in the game, alongside the new Chest of Fortune, which is now a very highly sought after item. The Fort of Fortune also brings a ton of PvP, and can bring you some really great fights. Instead of feeling like a chore, now it kind of adds spice to the seas. I would not recommend the Fort of Fortune to any new players, as it is still hard enough that someone who doesn't understand the mechanics would die a lot, and spend a lot of time there. But experienced crews, I'm sure you already know, you will get a lot of money, if you can defend yourself. And my favorite event in the Sea of Thieves, the Fort of the Damned. Not only does this fort have some of the best atmosphere in the game, drawing energy from the Sea of the Damned, not only does the Fort of the Damned have an actual interesting mechanic that makes the fort harder, but the best part about the Fort of Fortune is that it is player activated. Meaning you can stack as many as you like, and it also means if you see one, you know players will be around. The Fort of the Damned even got its own new music just for Season 9. Season 9 also brings us the Skull of Destiny, a skull trapping the 6 flames of fate, making the Fort of the Damned easier than ever to start. And some of my best Sea of Thieves moments have come from stacking this event and fighting off the entire server for it. I love this thing. The massive loot haul at the end is more than worth the risk of starting one of these up. And a Fort of the Damned on your server always means a great adventure is ahead. Even before Season 9 this was the best event, but after Season 9 it stays the best event. But do you agree with my rankings? What's your favorite event in Sea of Thieves? Leave a comment. I read all of them. Like the video if you did, it really helps out. And hey, why not subscribe? Whether it's lore, new adventures, or a great heist, I'll always keep you updated on the latest in Sea of Thieves. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great week. See you on the seas.